here.
Good evening. Welcome to the May 31st regular meeting of the Rockville Center Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please note there are evacuation exits in the back and on the front to the side. Any correspondence that can be posted has been posted. Opportunity for students. Would any students like to come up and address the board at this time? Okay. Mr. Gavin, I'll turn it over to you. Update on the annual election and budget vote.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you to all of our community for the support of the 23-24 school budget. We want to welcome Janet Gruner to the Board of Education as a trustee. We welcome back Trustee Tara Hackett to the Board of Education for another 3-year term. We also wish to thank Trustee Farazani. Okay, we can applaud. That's cool. Yep, that's good. We also wish to thank Trustee Farazani for her service to the community and her dedication to the district and the health and welfare of our students. And collectively, the board and I wish to thank Mrs. Celeberti and our entire group of election workers for an organized and extremely well-run election. Thank you, Mrs. Celeberti. Before I turn it over to John Murphy and the John Murphy Show, I just want to congratulate our retirees and our tenure candidates this evening. It's a pretty rowdy meeting tonight. That's pretty good. All right. In terms of our retirees, this evening we gather here to celebrate not just the conclusion of a remarkable chapter in our educators' lives, but to also pay them homage to the profound impact they have made on countless young minds. It is a moment of both mixed emotions, joy for the incredible journey they have undertaken, and also a celebration of the well-deserved rest that awaits them. And yet, there's a tinge of sadness on our part as we bid farewell to their dedication and their contributions. So tonight, as we bid farewell to these remarkable individuals, let us celebrate the legacy they leave. Let us honor their commitment, their passion, and their tireless pursuit of excellence. And let us remember that they have not only imparted knowledge, but left an indelible imprint on the hearts and minds of not only the kids, but their colleagues as well. Congratulations all. May your journey ahead be filled with joy and fulfillment and the satisfaction of knowing that your legacy lives on here in Rockville Center. We also gather here today to celebrate a milestone in the lives of our exceptional educators, the attainment of tenure. It is a momentous occasion that not only recognizes their unwavering commitment to the noble profession of teaching, but also acknowledges the profound impact they have had on their students. Earning tenure is not merely a formality or a symbol of job security. It is a testament to the dedication and passion and tireless effort of our teachers and administrators. It is a recognition of their unwavering commitment to the Rockville Center School District and the Rockville Center School District students. It is a recognition of their relentless pursuit of knowledge and their unyielding belief in the transformative power of education. However, for all of our tenure candidates, I remind you that tenure is not the end of a journey, but merely marks the beginning of a new chapter. All of you must continue to embrace innovation, explore new teaching methodologies, and adapt to the evolving needs of our students and our community. I wish for you to embody the idea of lifelong learning and the commitment to our community of learners. And I extend to all of you my heartfelt congratulations to each and all of you in this room, earning all of our tenure candidates, and we thank all of your families for sharing all of our tenure candidates and retirees with us these many years. Mr. Murphy, you're on.
Will do. Thank you, Mr. Gavin, board, and very full auditorium. It's nice to see everyone tonight. So, as Mr. Gavin said, we're here to recognize two groups of teachers that we will recognize separately, individually separately, and then as one group. Not really as bookends, but as part of the continuum and one of the more significant milestones in our service, in that our profession provides. So the way I look at it is now you're part of the real fabric of Rockville Center and Southside. You're both part of the same continuum, and it's like a wedding, right? Or whatever metaphor works for you in today's day and age. But first, we'll recognize the tenured staff, and obviously, each one of you deserves far more time than we could dedicate tonight. So this, I hope, is the beginning of a celebration at whatever stage of your professional journey you're in right now. It's a token gesture on our part, but I hope the celebration continues long into the next month. So first, amongst our tenured staff, some of these names you are familiar with, some are relatively new, but I think you'll notice the pattern, and I won't make the analogies for you, that you'll see this slow dedication, commitment to students and learning that has its rewards over time. So our first name is someone who started as a teacher assistant here in 2004 and has just earned tenure as a principal of of Wilson School, James Duffy. He was a teacher at Hewitt, just for clarification. You're going to have to come back, Jim, so don't get comfy. Later, it's all right, you can chill. Our second honoree started as a 6th grade social studies teacher. I won't say the date because that embarrasses people, but it was a while ago. Who has just earned tenure as the principal at Watson School, Jen Passarella. Like Mr. Duffy, this person started again as a teaching assistant, as a permanent sub, and in the last 4 years has earned tenure as an elementary teacher at Wilson School, Jacqueline Azueda. So 4 years ago, the district made a decision to extend our counseling to the elementary grades, and we were very, very fortunate to get some very talented young people in to really bolster the learning in our elementary schools. And the next tenure candidate walked in with the ground running and has really been an invaluable asset. Denise Cabaz. We're spreading it kind of evenly so far. So our next candidate started as a permanent substitute and worked their way up, like many of us have, and has been an art teacher at the middle school for the last 4 years. Congratulations to Monica Daly. The next tenure candidate, again, started as a permanent substitute. And it's also nice to see that a lot of these candidates have experienced different schools within the district. Again, that whole fabric motif. So this permanent sub started at Covert School, but she earned her tenure as a special education teacher at Watson School. Congratulations, Lauren Erickson. It's a long walk, right? The next teacher I've worked closely with, started teaching here 43 years ago. It just seems that way. But she's been around a long time as a teaching assistant, as a part-time teacher, as an English teacher, and became the hub and the core and the lifeblood of our Pathways program at the high school. Congratulations to Jessica Goro. And as Mr. Duffy's been leaving his imprint at Wilson, he's also built one heck of a support staff around him, and one of his first hires, and the next candidate has been an invaluable member as a psychologist in that school. Congratulations to Jennifer Hogan. This next candidate is our second go-around with tenure, first as a teaching assistant a while back, but then decided to become a permanent substitute teacher, then an elementary teacher at Hewitt School, has also been deeply involved in Project Great and a number of different clubs. Congratulations to Kayla Jordy. This next candidate made me regret the fact that I changed my major from computer science 43 years ago. I sat in her classroom and I convinced myself that I could code. She's an amazing life force and our stellar teacher at Wilson. Congratulations to Lacey Lohr. Okay, we have one candidate who stayed put in a school all 4 years. It's amazing. As a math teacher, but as a permanent sub, and then became a long-term sub, and is now a tenured math teacher at Southside Middle School. Congratulations to Corey Miller. This next candidate got her start at the Watson School, both as a teaching assistant and as an elementary teacher. Most recently, she's been our asset at St. Agnes School. Congratulations to Erica Morello. We have another lifer. This candidate has been starting and earning tenure at Watson School, both as a teaching assistant as an elementary teacher. Congratulations, Margaret Mosher. This next teacher is tenured in social studies, but the number of subjects I've thrown at him in the last 4 years, I'm apologetic just looking at them. He's taught film studies, play productions, 11th grade social studies, and pretty much anything that we've asked of him. He's been an invaluable asset. Congratulations, David Shotwell. All right. again, an extension of our social work staff. This young person started with us at the high school and then extended her professionalism to the middle school when we were redistributing based on social emotional learning, and she's been an asset to both buildings. Congratulations to Katie Ammon. Congratulations to all our tenured teachers, but don't go anywhere. The photo ops will happen shortly. All right, now the big guns. All right, so we're about to honor and celebrate those people for their dedication, their service, but equally important, their friendship. So each person that I went through, I had a fond memory of. It seems like yesterday that we all started together. In no particular order. Each one has their own individual contributions, and I hope you hear it again and again between now and the end of the year as a collective thank you. So first, as part of our security staff, these aren't just our security staff, these are our hellos in the morning, our warm and fuzzies. These are the people who create the tone in the building as they walk in. And the first one, I can still see his smile and the good morning consistently every day. Congratulations on his next stage of his life, Pete Giorizo, security aide. The high school staff is going to need a recording of thank you and have a nice day from this guy, because I don't know how we're going to start our day without it. It's just been so ritualistic for so long. Carlos, I don't know what we're going to do without you, man. Carlos Maldonado. For some, they're not really retirees. For some of them, like, this is their second go-around, so I know they're coming back. Like, like this next one, he retired from Wall Street, then came back here, so I'm just waiting to see what the third act's going to be. But he's been the face of Watson for what seems like forever. Good luck in your garden and your travels, but I know you're coming back. Richard Verderama. Also retiring this year in the middle of the year, who couldn't make it, John Heinemeyer, who's been the security guard at the greenhouse for over 15 years. Okay. Also, two who couldn't be here tonight, again, they retired in mid-year, both in our custodial staff. One is Roger Hayslip, and the head custodian at Riverside School, Gregory Toledo, retired in November. Also, someone else who couldn't make it as we transition to our office and secretarial staff, Amy Coccio has worked over the last 10 years, mostly in the central administration building, so congratulations to her. The next retiree was responsible exclusively for keeping me reined in for 7 years when I was at the high school, was my moral conscience, and told me all the people I upset on a day-to-day basis, which is very thoughtful. So congratulations on your retirement, Pat Daly. And after 20 years, Ms. Colleen Walters, who kept the Office of Curriculum Instruction on track year after year, also retired this year, and we wish her well, even though she couldn't make it today. What were you doing 47 years ago? This person was celebrating the bicentennial and installing the public address system at the high school. I mean, it was Morse code, but it was an address system. But Bob Krager is so patient that his name is Krager, and he's let people call him Bob Kroger for 47 years. 47 years. I swear to God, in 27 years, I've never heard the man say no or I'm tired, not once. It's just extraordinary. But wait, there's more. I wouldn't want to follow that. But the contributions to our nursing faculty, over the last 4 years, I don't have to tell you how much they've meant to the lifeblood of the school. And if I went through that, I'd retire too. But Andra Gregoris was a go-to person. Midnight phone calls. She never, ever said no. I wish her well in the next stage of her life. Anne? Okay, we have a few teacher aides who couldn't make it here tonight, but I'd like to recognize them nonetheless. Gina DeMare not only is retiring, but I think I've had all of her kids in my class at one stage or another. So congratulations to Gina DeMare after 16 years. And Hewitt's going to have to close because after 22 years, Alice Keefe is not going to be keeping them together anymore. Congratulations to Alice. But we do have an aide that is here, I hope. She was a teacher aide at the high school, but most recently at Hewitt. Her influence over the students was unbelievable. With her heart and soul, but not only their learning, she's left her mark on an immeasurable number of students. Congratulations, Noreen Montefort. Similarly, after 17 years, Pauline Schoen is leaving Wilson School and us. She's been a one-to-one aide with some of our diabetic students. She's been a classroom aide. She's going to be missed by staff, she's going to be missed by students, and she's going to be missed by us. Congratulations, Pauline. Also retiring as an aide after 21 years, Kathy Stone, who was in Wilson starting in 2001 and is now retiring. Her dedication and her devotion will be severely missed. Kate? Two other teacher aides who couldn't make it here tonight. After 32 years, wow, Marlene Viscasil called it quits in the middle of the year to spend more time with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So we wish her well, Marlene. And Maura Gao, similarly, after 18 years, I don't know if there's a department she hasn't worked in the high school. Congratulations on a life well served. And then there are the true quiet heroes. There's been a teacher assistant that's been working at the greenhouse for 20 years, gone unnoticed, but saved the life of so many kids I can't begin to tell you. Just by being a presence, being a bedrock, reaching out and doing those invisible things that we know are immeasurable in the life of a kid. Congratulations and thank you a million times over to Kim Herman for her service. Someone's got to be here. All right, so starting, the year I started, 1996 as an aide in Wilson, and then as a teacher assistant. Eileen Vodke's just been unbelievable, especially to those students who are less fortunate, quietly and silently reaching out, helping those less fortunate, thinking that no one notices. Well, I hate to tell you the jig is up, we did. Congratulations, and it won't be the same without you. Teacher. I love it when they start before me. It makes me feel so much better. So, this math teacher started here in 1996, and you know, I know it's a cliche, but making math actually exciting and fun for kids is no small feat, especially in these parts. She'll be remembered as someone who worked diligently and made Southside math just a thing. Congratulations to Kerry Alessi. Patty Barkwell is a special education teacher, but she's more. She is a facilitator. She was the advisor to the React Club. She's been the advisor to so many young teachers as a mentor, as an advisor. She shaped the department at the middle school for years, and she'll be sorely missed. Patty Barkwell. Middle school, they're taking a hit. This next teacher started in 1987, but to this day, she's innovative, energetic, a deep thinker and an educator, and I don't know what the middle school is going to do without Karen Campbell. Congratulations, Karen. This next teacher ran out of subjects to teach. I think that's why she's leaving. She just got bored after a while. Physics teacher, math teacher. I know she's taught AP Sciences before. She's an administrator, advisor to every club that we asked. The things that she does without telling anyone is unbelievable. She is IB Physics for Southside High School. She's been the facilitator and a friend. Congratulations, Mary Coleman. all of the teachers who receive tenure have a gift for making students feel warm and welcome, but it's harder for others, especially those who don't even speak the language when they spend their first day in our school district. And this teacher has not only allayed their fears, but make them feel welcome, had an adult presence with them throughout their education. She's a collaborator, she worked with other teachers, and she epitomizes what above and beyond means, especially with the ENL and ESL students. We're going to miss you, Dolores DeCabo. Congratulations. I just saw this teacher last week in a Stellar class when she was teaching kids how to comb through their writing. Imagine that, attention to words. And you see, she just enjoyed the kids' presence, and I'm sure that's been the same way it's been for the past 25 years. In the library that I saw her in, actually, one of the murals was actually painted by her daughter. I mean, I think that's overdoing it a little bit, don't you, in terms of leaving your mark? We'll leave it to its own. But she's been an amazing presence. Even the theater program, 25 years at Riverside, the theatrical performances were in large part thanks to her. Congratulations, Anda Franza. Another teacher at the high school who couldn't be with us tonight, Christine Donatelli has been a special education teacher at the high school for 23 years, was a department facilitator, and has touched the lives in every single grade level over the last 21 years. Thank you for your service, Christine. And another teacher who couldn't be with us tonight, Senor Jaron. Walter Jaron has been a Spanish teacher for 24 years. He's been a JV assistant coach, Spanish club advisor. He's been to more trips than I could imagine. Congratulations on your next stage in your life, Walter. This next teacher has started as an elementary teacher in Watson in 1988. The number of advisorships and responsibilities that she's had, from the math Olympiads to computer librarian, AV coordinator, it's just, the list is too long to mention here. Her commitment and her excellence is unwavering, and it's been consistent. It's lovely to see people at the latter part of their career just as energetic as they were in the beginning. And she was always a welcoming smile to me as I introduced myself to elementary schools this year. Congratulations to Karen Feldkamp. This next teacher was social emotional learning before it was called social emotional learning. She was a special education teacher, but she was also taught yoga, was the poster child for Sanford Harmony, for those of you who know what that is, has spent her life in Riverside, Hewitt, Covert, 34 years of just giving and giving, and we're going to miss you. Congratulations, Meryl Goodman. And then I see some names, I'm going, really, you're retiring? It's just, I don't know where the time went. You know, I've known this person as a counselor at middle school, but also as a district employee. During times of crisis, there were a group of people that we knew that we could call on to really help, and she was one of them, as well as the following candidate. She's just been the lifeblood. Congratulations, Carla Jones, counselor. And I met the next retiree under a similar circumstance. And based on this, she started teaching when she was in 8th grade here. So after 41 years, she's been, not just been a psychologist, but she's been an assistant CSE chair. She's been a summer school teacher. She's been a mentor. She's been a trainer. She's worked with doctoral candidates. She's worked with interns. She's done it all. Covert will be missing her this time next year. Congratulations, Dr. Janine Rowe. Another special education teacher who retired early in the year. I don't see her here. But again, one of these true humanists who has had her hand in everything, from science to STECA to advisor for the Political Awareness Club to teaching yoga. I'm sure Marianne Vogel's enjoying her retirement as she did her teaching career. Congratulations, Marianne. And this is another teacher who, in her last year, welcomed me like I was a newbie, who's been an elementary teacher, but most recently has been working in AIS services. She is the spirit of Wilson. I think Mr. Duffy's right when he said that. It's not just guidance and feedback, just the heart and soul, the lifeblood. You know, teaching isn't something that she does, it's something who she is. Congratulations to Patty Santiago. If I could just beg your indulgence one more time, just a collective round of applause for both the retirees and our tenured staff. Photo op? I don't know.
Mr. Murphy, are you concluded with everything right now?
I got nothing.
You got nothing left? No more flowers, no more anything? We're good?
I'm saving the flowers.
All right, good. We would like to take about a 5 to 10 minute break, just take some pictures with all of our honorees tonight. And we thank everyone for coming and being a part of this celebration of people at the beginning of their career and people that are celebrating the end of their career. We wish you all the best, and we would love to have you here for a picture. Right here? So, you want the retirees first? Sure. Okay. Can we have all of our retirees up in the front so we can take a nice picture, please? That would be great.
You'll be missed. Riverside parents cheering like when they vote it out.
So wonderful.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to meet everybody.
I'm already hearing from the covert parents. Everyone's happy for you, but like super sad.
The emails that I've
But we're all happy. And they're all hoping to go to their field day.
14. Yep.
You're going to speak first.
Why don't you do the motion? Just say we're going to go a little out of order. You do the motion, we get it approved, and then...
The correspondence outside? Yeah.
Okay, once again, congratulations to all of our retirees and tenure appointees. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve item for action number 14, which is the Personnel Actions Report.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Mr. Gavin?
Well, that means it's official. I am delighted to recommend Dr. Samantha Dias for the position of Coordinator of Teaching and Learning for approval by the Board of Education. Dr. Dias has served as the Assistant Principal of California Avenue School in Uniondale since 2017, where she has exemplified absolutely fantastic leadership. During her tenure, Dr. Dias has spearheaded technology integration initiatives. She's even been to the mothership at Apple, successfully led the bilingual education program, and chaired the instructional support team. Her invaluable experience in these areas makes her the perfect fit for the coordinator position. In her new role, Dr. Dias will work closely with Dr. Moriarty, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, to develop curriculum, coordinate professional development opportunities, and foster collaboration among our faculty and administration to ensure instructional alignment. Please welcome Dr. Samantha Dias. I'm glad to see they made you stand up, Samantha, so they could point you out. I am equally thrilled to recommend Mr. Christopher Zappia for the position of Principal of Riverside Elementary School. There was more. There was more. Man. Mr. Zappia has been an integral part of the RVC family since 2004. He currently serves as a fifth grade teacher at Covert Elementary School. Throughout his tenure, Chris has consistently demonstrated his leadership abilities and unwavering dedication to education and the students here at Rockville Center. In addition to his teaching responsibilities, Mr. Zappia has taken over various roles in the district. For several years, he coordinated the Summer Regents Prep and Academic Enrichment Program. He has also played a vital role in supervising the pre-K summer program, which focuses on preparing students for kindergarten. Further, Mr. Zappia has led the Teacher Center, a collaborative effort with the district and the teachers to provide professional development for our faculty. Moreover, I know that there are some sad people at Covert. I know that there are some sad people at Covert, and there are some thrilled people at Riverside, because I've seen the texts. I am thrilled, absolutely beyond thrilled, to welcome Chris to the leadership team. He is well deserving, and both administrators, Madam President, will make an outstanding addition to our RVC family.
Thank you. On behalf of the board, welcome to Dr. Dias and Mr. Zappia. We look forward to working with you in this new capacity. Congratulations to you both. Thank you.
We would like a photo op, because that's what we do here. So we would like a photo op. If you guys want to come up, we'll take a nice picture. guys can go. It's good. We're not doing anything else. I mean, if you want to stay for his presentation, feel free. Feel free.
Have a good night.
Congratulations.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Gavin, we have acceptance of gifts.
That's right. We have a few gifts that have been donated to the district. We have the gift of a fence at the property line between 19 Bradford Court and Hewitt School from the Darcy family. We have the gift of an electronic guitar and amplifier to Southside High School Music Department from Ms. Harris. We have the gift of $495 to Southside High School for Sources of Strength, the year-end event from the Ryan Patrick O'Shea Foundation. And we have a gift from our PTA of Covert, Hewitt, Riverside, Watson, Wilson, and Southside Middle School to fund the AIM program of $108,000. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support and your generosity.
Thank you to all. Can I have a motion to approve the acceptance of the gifts?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Thank you again. Superintendent's report, Mr. Gavin.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to report to the board that all of our TED Ed clubs have held their inaugural events. They were a celebration of our students, their ideas, and their authentic selves. We congratulate all of our student participants who conquered public speaking, learned more about a topic of interest, and learned how to weave an interest into a compelling story. Our teacher moderators should also be commended for their ability to try something new. We have recorded all of these events and we'll be putting them on our YouTube channel over the next few weeks, so we will make sure that our ideas worth spreading continue to spread. Cabinet for a Day was great fun. We welcomed our students as part of a fundraiser for the Ed Foundation. We had 6 of our students that served as our cabinet and superintendent for the day. Our students became playground inspectors for the entire district. They created a PowerPoint presentation to share with the board last evening, complete with recommendations on what we can be doing better on the playground. We enjoyed our paychecks. We had so much fun. It might have been my most fun day ever. The kids had a great time. They had so many positive experiences, and we really enjoyed having them, and I can't wait to do it again next year. Although I was told by a 3rd grader who shall remain nameless, you need to take it up a notch. So we have to think that up for next year. I also want to thank all of our musicians, music teachers, and of course Dr. Zuar for the tremendous concerts we've been seeing over the last few weeks. These entertaining evenings and of course our student performers, they continue to dazzle us with their musical prowess. Thanks to Nick Albarano, our junior class president, for putting on a wonderful junior carnival with a terrific fundraiser at Hewitt last weekend. I also want to thank Kelly Ramsey, our director of guidance, for putting together a thought-provoking parent presentation on how to help your child navigate difficult social situations. It was well attended and the feedback was really positive. Thank you to our PTA again, not only for the generous donation, but also we enjoyed the PTA President's Dinner last evening, and we always thank our PTA for being a supportive partner on the behalf of students. And I am thrilled to tell everyone that Center Stage's production this year is Wizard of Oz, and it takes place tomorrow evening and Friday evening. I was at rehearsal today, and I was thrilled to see so many of our students working together to put this performance together. If you haven't gone to Center Stage, you should. It's a wonderful, wonderful evening. The partnership between all of our students, backyard players, and all of the volunteers is really something special to behold. And I really wish all of you get out there and get a chance to come to that play tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, I believe. Is it 7 o'clock tomorrow? 7 o'clock tomorrow and 7 o'clock on Friday evening. So that is my report for the evening, Madam President.
Thank you.
Wow, applause. Wow.
Wow, lively crowd tonight. Okay. Items for information, Mr. Gavin.
Sure. We, as the board knows, we set about setting a goal at the beginning of this year where we talked about putting in a curriculum review process over 5 years. The first area that we looked at this year was ELA, English Language Arts. And we put together a committee that has been working steadily on learning about our curriculum, making sure that we're aligned, and has recommendations and some suggestions and findings for us this evening. And I would ask Dr. Moriarty to come up with her team and introduce it. Thank you very much, Dr. Moriarty.
All right, great. I would like to thank the Board of Education and Mr. Gavin for inviting us here this evening to share our journey over the last year. We are very grateful for this opportunity to really explain to you the work that we've been undergoing. So tonight I'm joined by a group of talented and exceptional educators who are representing the larger committee and subsequent subcommittees that we put together as a result of our committee. Each one was more eager and excited than the next, and each would have been disappointed if they were unable to come today to share their part of the journey with us. Collectively, as a committee and subcommittees, we dove very deeply into our K-12 ELA curriculum, which was a board goal that was set in August with Mr. Gavin and the board. When we think about ELA and how we would review or analyze the ELA curriculum, we really needed to think about the methodology in which we were going to go about this. Because when we think about ELA, it is very wide and it is very encompassing, and it's the basis of everything that we do across the district. So to make sense of this, we divided it into two components, and we categorized it into reading and then our ELA skills and comprehension curriculum. When we looked at reading, we really asked ourselves, how aligned are we to the science of reading? And what could we do immediately if and when we were not aligned? We also wanted to think about our long-term goals and how we can ensure alignment over the course of our future. Concurrently, we were looking at our ELA curriculum. And there we asked ourselves, how aligned are we to effective curriculum design? What are our areas of strength? And where are there opportunities for us to grow? So looking at our timeline of review, we took a team-based approach that encompassed many, many steps. And so tonight, we're going to attempt to share the entire body of our work that we engaged in over the course of the year in less than 30 slides. So we're going to try to do this as effectively as we possibly can. I am confident that you will hear tonight that we have a strong foundation of ELA here in our district at Rockville Center, that we are able to identify areas where we have gaps and turn them into opportunities for our growth, that we can take immediate action when needed, and that we look forward to our ongoing work that facilitates collaboration between and among all of our staff members across the district to further enhance our alignment. So without further ado, I'm going to invite the team up. First, we will hear from Mrs. Broderick, who will talk to us about the science of reading, and then the rest of the team subsequently will talk about how we also reviewed ELA curriculum. Throughout the presentation, you will hear recommendations, and I will come back and I will solidify those recommendations for us.
Thank you, Dr. Moriarty, the driving force behind our curriculum committee. Without her, none of this would have happened. As I think back to Superintendent's Conference Day, I remember how our district collaborated to assess our adherence to the National Reading Panel guidelines. We assessed our school's current resources and practices, sharing our expertise on the 5 reading components. Our goal was to align the components with the science of reading, ensuring all students receive exceptional reading and literacy instruction. In September, I had the privilege of meeting with each of the building principals to share the recommendations and insights that our teachers had gathered to enhance and nurture our current practices and instruction. Our initial step was to explore and execute a phonemic awareness program. As a district, we chose the Hegarty program. I provided training, coaching, and modeling throughout the district to ensure consistent implementation. For several years, RVC utilized the Foundation's Phonics program. During Superintendent's Conference Day, our teachers recognized the need for additional training and a curriculum map. This map guaranteed that our K-2 teachers were aligned in approach and in content. Foundation unit assessments were administered district-wide, similar to that of our math district-wide assessments. To continually enhance our reading programs, I also created a comprehensive district-wide data sheet to inform our reading and instruction. After analyzing the data, we could pinpoint our students' progresses and find areas for need for improvement. Our district has a highly effective small group reading program that benefits all students' fluency and comprehension. During our superintendent's conference day, our teachers expressed interest in enhancing our students' summarizing and vocabulary skills. So this year, we turned to a research-based approach, Keys to Literacy Comprehension Routine, which teaches our students foundational skills that support listening and reading comprehension across all subject areas. Our recommendations for students in grades K to 2 is to continue implementing the Hegarty Foundation and a team teaching approach. In the upcoming academic year, all elementary schools will have new decodable books to support phonics skills during our literacy block instruction. For students in grades K to 5, we will keep training our teachers with the Keys to Literacy Comprehension routine. We also started exploring word study and grammar programs for our grades 3 through 5. We also recently developed our first inquiry unit for grades 4 and 5, which uses a thematic approach and text sets. My colleagues tonight will discuss this further.
In support of our district and Board of Education goals, an ELA review committee was formed that comprised of 39 teachers, 5 administrators across 7 buildings in grades K through 12. This committee employed the Game Board of Change, which is a mind map of our thinking. We started with our shared vision. We came together and we decided that we wanted to uncover common ideals, values, and beliefs that were vivid and compelling. The group began by arriving at this consensus for our intended outcomes of learning. We worked backwards from this point and identified what it was that we do well instructionally and what challenges are impeding us from obtaining our goal. We were deliberate in the guiding questions we asked ourselves. Examples of those questions are, to what extent does our K-12 ELA curriculum align with our values, mission, and vision for our learners? To what extent does this curriculum align with the components of an effective curriculum? And then lastly, to what extent are we vertically and horizontally aligned?
To answer these questions, we needed to put the theoretical aspects of the Game Board of Change into action. And these next few slides will give you insight into the steps we took to do so. First, we started by asking ourselves, what's our end goal? In other words, what's our vision for our graduates? What skills and dispositions, meaning qualities of character, habits of mind, will give students a firm foundation for success after high school? And when I say us and our, I'm referring to the fact that these questions were posed to administrators, teachers, curriculum committee members, and PTA curriculum committee members alike throughout the course of the year. As you can see in the picture, we explored what our vision looks like, sounds like, feels like. And we asked, do we have a common ideal? Our vision needed to also be informed by our district's mission statement. A mission statement is meant to unify people around common goals, to guide both the long-term vision and the daily decisions of a district or a school. So what skill sets does our mission statement aspire to? Students who are independent problem solvers, who are empowered to meet future challenges, who embrace individual and civic responsibility, who respect diversity, and who work to realize their full potential. Step 2 in putting theory into practice involved reflecting objectively, as dispassionately as possible, on where we are currently. The focus at this point was on the factual. What are the materials, the instructional strategies, the assessments, etc., that we're currently using? And you can see images of our collaborative brainstorming during our curriculum meetings on the screen. This leads us to step 3, the curricular analysis, where we carefully reviewed curriculum and broke it down into its component parts with an eye toward our research questions. Again, to what extent does the curriculum align? to our mission and vision, and to what extent does it align with the components of an effective curriculum. To facilitate this work, Dr. Moriarty knew that the curriculum committee would benefit from using a tool to standardize our approach. With 39 teachers and 5 administrators from 7 different buildings, standardization of this process really was essential. She chose the New York Education Department's A Guide for Aligning Local Curricular to the Next Generation ELA Learning Standards. We also needed to start with some foundational understandings before getting into the nitty-gritty of the analysis. First, an important page from this guide that you can see in the middle image identifies the key components of an instructional unit. And these components include crafting big questions. So, questions that relate to the real world, that are open-ended, that allow for multiple responses. These require students to integrate information and perspectives from a range of texts and even across subjects. And that leads us to the next one, which is selecting a range of texts that vary by genre, purpose, time period, culture. Integrating this information, these perspectives, helps students to deepen their learning of the content, and it also helps them recognize the distinction of purpose, of language, organizational structure, et cetera, of these varied texts. So how are short stories and novels similar and different? How is a speech similar or different to a written editorial? Next, selecting a core set of vocabulary words that will help students understand a given text as well as be able to discuss and write about the text. Identifying and repeating those core learning tasks are important because students come to understand the expectations, the learning tasks come with greater ease, and that way they can focus their energies on the new learning. And lastly, providing tools for content mastery and language production, such as graphic organizers like mind maps, Venn diagrams, or using other tools like sentence starters. Next, we also had to keep in mind a key difference between the previous ELA standards and the next-gen ELA standards, and that's the lifelong practices of readers and writers. From the state's perspective, though I would definitely argue it's always been the perspective of Rockville Center, literacy is not just about meeting standards, it's also about building those skills and dispositions that will sustain students as critical readers and writers and thinkers throughout their lives. So informed with these foundational understandings, we began our analysis of a variety of curricular units from the elementary, the middle, and the high school buildings, using the tool that you see images of on screen. For each curricular unit provided, we worked in groups to consider the document through the lens of different indicators. And these indicators, as shown on the screen, include the core elements of inquiry and of reading, writing, listening, and speaking from multiple authentic purposes, audiences, and context. Next, supporting all students through research-based, inclusive, and scaffolded instruction. Also incorporating academic vocabulary, providing opportunities for writing that consolidates learning, challenges students to use a variety of formats, and uses the process model of writing. This is followed by reading engaging, content-rich, relevant text in a variety of formats, and being able to discuss much of the aforementioned in a variety of groupings and formats.
The goal of the ELA committee was to put theory into practice. It was here where the research and design process began. 7 expert groups came together to analyze what we already do and ask questions, capture evidence, and identify alignment to the New York State standards. We focused on 2 elementary, 1 middle school, and 2 high school units of study. During our collaboration, we evaluated what we have and discussed how we can create ongoing opportunities for growth while aligning the curriculum and allowing for outcomes that go beyond the content through shared experiences. The committee engaged in chalk talk, digging deeper by asking questions of the writers for clarification on the hows and the whys, taking the time to really listen to each other. This led to group discussions across grade levels for justification and recommendations as we continue to work together to evaluate and design while keeping our visions and values as educators in the forefront of our minds. Reflection. Reflection was and is an important part of the process. We spent time reflecting on our work as we design our curriculum, and here is where we looked back into our toolkit, which included the charts we created, the ideas we reviewed, the conversations we had, the lessons and units we looked at, as well as the alignment to the standards. We unpacked ideas to enhance our curriculum, and through this process, we were able to focus on the growth of our ELA curriculum, both horizontally and vertically.
The ELA Review Committee used the following research questions that Mr. Zappia spoke of earlier to guide our analysis of our specific curriculum in Rockville Center. What we found overall was that throughout our current ELA K-12 curriculums, there were embedded elements that emphasized our Rockville Center values and our district's mission. There was alignment to the indicators of an effective curriculum that included best practices of teaching of ELA. And there was great potential and desire for stronger and more intentional vertical and horizontal alignment. Based on this thorough analysis, our combined and collective findings and recommendations are as follows. 1, to ensure that our T1 core instruction is accessible for all. It needs to be rooted in standards, follow a scope and sequence, and have embedded scaffolds that both support and enrich content and skills, built into each unit and lesson. Allowing for stretching and supporting the curriculum ensures access for all. 2, there need to be varied assessments that are performance-based, diagnostic, formative, summative, and can even potentially be collected in a student portfolio that will show growth over a topic, a skill set, or a time frame. And 3, there needs to be relevance for students. Curriculum should be student-centered and allow for transfer of both skills and knowledge between and among content and classes. Curriculums should have essential questions, conceptual and enduring understandings that frame our units so that a thematic approach to multiple content areas can be explored through varied and content-rich texts. Our committee, which was varied in grade level, content area, and specialized areas of expertise such as E&L, special ed teachers, and reading teachers, was unified in our goals and findings over the course of the year. And we were able to identify qualities we wanted to embed in the expansion of our current curriculums. Teachers agreed that they wanted to build curriculum that shared a template, had common language, and common development of skills across all grade levels. Through the analysis and looking at each other's curriculum, it was clear that this process helped us inform our understanding around teaching and learning and triggered a reflection on our own work and areas which we could immediately improve. We knew that we needed to communicate the intention of the units by hearing the writer's thoughts and their own process, and that was crucial to sharing the work with our colleagues, both during this phase of analysis as well as for presenting completed curriculums to colleagues. Making the implicit explicit by sharing the intentions as well as writing curriculum with clear direction. And there was an overwhelming sense of positivity from teachers talking about vertical and horizontal alignment, seeing what elementary, middle, and high school teams were doing and understanding that where we are currently started from where students came from and has an ending in where they're going, and that was immeasurable. And from this came the birth of our ELA subcommittees. This was very exciting and much anticipated by the teachers who were chomping at the bits to get going. They wanted to roll up their sleeves and dive right into implementing these findings and making change. So with the support of Dr. Moriarty, Mrs. Broderick, Mrs. Nisler, and myself, we began to put together subcommittees, which consisted of teachers on a grade level from across the district, including classroom teachers, special ed, and reading teachers. We began looking at standards in both science and social studies and found natural connections between and among content areas. And then we started to marry them to the ELA standards, creating conceptual connections, enduring issues that were going to be driving each of our units.
Reflecting back to the mind map, the game board of change, and the slides Mrs. Nisler spoke to, where we put theory into practice with the end in mind, the committee worked within a backward design framework. We started by identifying our desired outcomes for student learning. Subsequently, we reached a consensus on the criteria for acceptable evidence of learning, which then guided the development of a plan for determining instructional content and making sure that we implement it effectively.
Intended outcomes are built on the foundation of New York State learning standards. These standards then drive the development and design of each unit. The committee began by identifying specific ELA, science, and social study learning standards, and then realigned them to find overlapping and common themes.
Habits of mind are dispositions people use when confronted with problems and situations in which answers are not immediately apparent. They extend beyond the learned content of a unit of study and align with our district's vision and mission to create lifelong learners. Of the 16 total habits of mind, the subcommittee decided on these 4 as best reflecting the ideals of this specific unit. We want our learners to respond with wonderment and awe. We want them to be able to listen with understanding and empathy. We'd like them to remain open to continuous learning, to be lifelong learners. We want them to be able to think and communicate with clarity and precision.
I'm inherently very loud, so I don't know about the mic. But I'm the part where this is where the magic happened for me. I mean, Dr. Moriarty has done an incredible job. I've been very involved in curriculum writing in Rockwell Center for too many years that I won't mention. But once we got into the grade level teams, it was really magic. There should be glitter and everything in that picture. The magic has always been there. But the way that it's aligned now, it's so beautiful and so exciting. 5th grade analyzed everything, and we took the theme of power. Ooh, see, I shouldn't have a microphone. And we framed our units integrating ELA, social studies, and science, crafting essential questions that set the stage and provide the glue for this cohesive, high-interest, very exciting unit, which will be units. Our initial unit has our newest 5th graders considering how does where we live affect how we live. Capitalizing on the very dynamic novel, A Long Walk to Water, students will compare how all communities have the power to adapt. Through quality literature, mystery science units, and our Putnam-Boese social studies curriculum, students will literally be immersed in raising their level of thinking, sharing their experiences, and their enthusiasm. Students will be exposed to how people have adapted to circumstances completely out of their control, and how circumstances can impact daily life. Through these lessons, students will develop empathy and bring meaning to the world around them. It's really powerful stuff. I'm going to use the word power a lot. So we have created this engaging learning activities. We created powerful centers and stations to introduce the new novel. Book club stations and centers work, where 5th graders will take really deep dives into picture books to extrapolate the meaning. Explicit instruction will link all content areas together, from examining the Dust Bowl disaster in mystery science to analyzing the adaptations the earliest inhabitants of the Western Hemisphere had to go through thousands of years ago, and the publication of our first writing piece, The Me That Nobody Knows. Kelly Barry knows about that. We will introduce the 5th grade writing workshop while modeling reflection and self-awareness. Students will introspectively look into their own environments and construct a first powerful piece of writing reflecting on their values, their circumstances, how they've had to adapt. And the valued outcomes of this first unit will lay the groundwork for students to understand themselves, their relationship with the world around them, before we move on to the power of interactions. This curriculum is like a true testament to the power of collaboration and the integration of all of the ideas that have already existed here, and it has been an honor to work with it.
So we strive to create learning opportunities using instructional models that provide explicit teaching of skills and activities that engage students. And here are 3 examples of our instructional models. The first is station rotation. Teachers design a predetermined schedule where students are rotated in small groups, receiving explicit skills instruction from teachers. Our centers incorporate student activities such as writing, independent reading, problem-solving tasks, which all create a balance of station and center work in each classroom. A second model is the gradual release model that's in the center, where teachers strategically transfer the responsibility of the learning process from the teacher to the student through 4 phases. In the first phase, the I do phase, the teacher explicitly teaches a skill and models using an essential question or a lesson objective. In the we do phase, there is guided instruction with input from the teacher as well as the students. Then, you do together, where students collaborate in small groups or partnerships. And lastly, you do alone phase, which provides independent practice to reach mastery reflection. A new instructional model, which is the last on the board, which supports our Tier 1 in grades K through 12, is our Keys to Literacy, a comprehensive routine combining comprehension, writing, and study strategies that learn the content in all subject areas. This routine creates consistency in the common language and graphic organizers from grade to grade. The model is organized in 2 parallel routines. The exterior being the teacher's routine, which includes explicit instruction, teaching the main idea, text structure, the gradual release model, and critical thinking. The interior is the student's model, where they apply our comprehension strategies, such as the top-down topic web, 2-column notes, summarizing, and question generation. We continue to find ways to integrate technology into our curriculum, and 2 programs our students are familiar with using that provide differentiated instruction and allow for student choice are Raz Kids and Epic. Both are digital reading platforms with an engaging array of fiction and nonfiction texts that may be selected as level text, audiobooks, and passages, with assessment and progress monitoring components. New to the district this year is Castle Learning. This is a content-specific learning platform with a comprehensive database spanning various levels of rigor. All questions provide students with feedback in the form of hints, reasons, and sample answers, and all content is aligned to our state standards and topics. Another addition to the district this year is the Pebble Go K through 2 and Pebble Next, which is grades 3 through 5. Pebble Go is a curricular content hub specifically guided for grades K through 2 students, packed with informational articles, ready-made activities, and literacy supports for students of all abilities. The Pebble Go Next provides a natural next step for the 3rd through 5th grade students, with articles that are aligned to state and national standards with a familiar yet age-appropriate experience and support. So these are just a few of the examples of how we continue to focus on meeting the needs of each student through our instructional models and technology integration.
This slide represents the integration of systems with the focus of emphasizing the unification of parts and concepts. We are infusing a team teaching approach to deliver curriculum that is aligned across all buildings. Consistent instructional strategies promote learners to engage in relevant, meaningful activities that can be connected to real life. Aligned assessments are cohesive and streamline understanding of data to be proactive, preventative, and enriching through the multi-tiered system of support to maximize student growth and support student social, emotional, and behavioral needs. An exciting highlight of this work is that best practices are being shared across the district. It is essential for us to see the connections among these systems, and as you can see, these all connect to our board goals, and we need each one to have a successful means to meet the needs of all of our students.
Our faculty seeing the connections between our systems and our frameworks in one school year is remarkable. A testament to their integrity, their ability to see the big picture, and the foundation already set here at Rockville Center. Our continued work is grounded in building capacity, in the way of cultivating and maintaining teacher self-efficacy. Research tells us that when teachers believe in themselves and have self-efficacy, their impact on student learning and success is enormous. So how will we cultivate and continue to cultivate this efficacy and capacity within our staff? Well, we found that through our work this year, there is wide expertise across this district. And when we put everybody in a room, as our committee showed, we are able to see connections between and among everything that we do. And that the phrase Mr. Gavin says all the time, the talent is in the room, is absolutely 100% true. The talent is in the room, and we are better educators for the sharing and the collaboration that we undergo. And our students are best served in that manner. Our alignment to the 5 pillars is the cornerstone of our work. Everything that we talked about tonight goes back to the 5 pillars of the science of reading. It is the cornerstone, it helps us stay focused, and it helps us categorize our work into science-based categories that is evidence-backed. I'm happy to report that we have many of those elements currently in the district, and we continue to strive to add more. It's like building a brick house. We have all of the bricks. Now we're putting them all together, and we're fusing them together with mortar. We're holding the structure together to make it solid and strong so the structure lasts far beyond when we leave. In a snapshot, we recommend to continue with phase 2 through phase 4 of the recommendations on the slide, with a collaborative team leading the way. We want to ensure a comprehensive, aligned, and equitable learning experience for all of our learners across Rockville Center, K through 12. And we want to be aligned to the science of learning, which is even more than the science of reading. We thank you for this time. We understand that it was very long and comprehensive, but I really don't know how else to capture a whole year's worth of work in any less of a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to you, Madam President, just a few comments. First and foremost, thank you to the members of the committee here tonight for all their work. To comment on Mrs. Rice's meeting when the 5th grade teachers happened to be all in the room writing that curriculum. I happened to walk into the meeting and the excitement was palpable, but so was the energy about making curricular experiences fun and engaging for kids, while at the same time making it challenging and supporting. And I thought their comprehensive view and their energy was really something palpable that you could take away, and something that I was really, excited to see. So thank you, everyone, for all of your work. A couple of things. First and foremost, I really appreciate the fact that as you coalesced the committee together, you utilized a benchmark and a tool to hold ourselves up against. So how are we doing? Like, we knew we had a lot of expertise in this district and a lot of great practices already in practice. But using that tool allowed us to, I would say, think comprehensively about a system, not just the individual pieces. Is that accurate to say?
Absolutely, 100%.
I know I shouldn't be giving you one-word questions. I'll do that better.
I can elaborate.
The other piece I wrote down, and thank you for saying it, I talked about the expertise in the room. That's totally true. I love that. One of the questions I had, and we talked about this, but I think it's helpful for the public to understand, is why do we start in grades 4 and 5, and why do we start in grade 11? How do we choose those two areas to look at, and what's the intentionality there in terms of trying to make the implicit explicit?
So a couple things. When we're looking at our younger grades, one of the aspects that came out of our curriculum review in the very, very, very beginning in Superintendent's Conference Day was the deep desire for alignment and cohesion among the 5 buildings around a grade level. So starting in 4th and 5th grade was a logical choice for us there. And then to think about reading in the younger grades is very important as well, right? So let's really frame out what it could look like and how it aligns to the science of reading. Then looking in 11th grade, you know, we are offering a new course next year in 11th grade, so we would like to look at that. And in doing that, if we can make this type of tool work for us and it makes sense as far as a curricular design goes, and we can see that K-12, then we would be able to meet in the middle for middle school. And, you know, we can do it in the younger grades, we can do it in the higher grades, and of course then the middle school would make sense as the next logical step. So that is one of our recommendations for next year, is to continue this type of work throughout the rest of the grades in order to have that cohesion, 3 through 12, and then eventually look at, or 4 through 12, and then eventually look at to see how we can go down to 3rd grade, 2nd grade, and kindergarten.
Thank you. The other piece that I heard was that we're sharing best practices through the committee as a vehicle. One of the things I think is important is not just that we share them, but that we implement them and we amplify them. And that is going to be one of the things that I'm going to ask the committee to make sure that we're doing regularly as we go back, all the committee members go back to their building. How do we take what we just learned today, share it with our colleagues in a meaningful and impactful way, and then turn that sharing into practice for students? So not only do we need to, share these practices, we need to implement them and amplify them. So that would be one of the things that I would ask the committee and Dr. Moriarty to do this work as we go forward in phases 2, 3, and 4.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And then I just have a small question. We talked about the 5th grade unit, and one of the things that was mentioned was picture books. And I would imagine that some people would say, why would we use picture books in 5th grade? Because they are already more than capable of reading in 5th grade. So I will ask Ms. Rice to come up and explain.
Every reader should be reading picture books. Picture books are a great venue for just taking a deep dive. We're starting 5th grade with A Long Walk to Water, which is going to be a little bit of a challenging text. So the picture books will build some prior knowledge, and will be an excellent way to introduce book clubs and for all kids to have access to that same knowledge. And book clubs, picture books are just amazing. They just inherently lead to deep dives into questions, inferencing, main idea, building background. High school seniors should be reading picture books.
You got that, Dr. Walsh?
5th grade picture books. Everybody agree? Yeah, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. The other thing I just want to make sure that the board and the public understand is that when we talked about the units, we talked about some of the assessment pieces and the writing that's involved. Like we talked about some of the writing pieces that are going to be included as part of this unit. And we also talked about investigating a grammar component, and we talked about trying to make sure that we are supporting the development of academic vocabulary. Can you speak to some of the steps you'd like to see for next year?
So we want to definitely, so now going back again to the 5 pillars in the science of reading, an area that we really need to look at is 3rd grade and up, and what a word study program could possibly be. So we need to have our committee come together, specifically grades 3, 4, 5, and look at various research-based, evidence-backed programs in order for us to really make sure that we're picking the right choice for us as a district, and that provides enough scaffolding and support, but yet at the same time allows students to move along in their pace. So we will look to the Reading League and their tool, most likely at this moment in time, unless something else happens to emerge with the research. And they have a tool as well that will help us look at the degree of alignment of activities and programs that align, the degree of which it aligns to the science of reading, right? So that's going to be a year-long process. We want to look at, is there a combination, see, there's no one program that will help meet all the needs of the science of reading, as we know, right? We had that presentation a couple months ago. So we really need to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and at the same time, we don't want something that's just going to say, hey, everybody, we're going to be on page 82 today, and now we're going to do this for today, and then tomorrow we're going to move to page 83. We want something that's flexible, that meets our expectations here at Rockville Center and aligns to our instructional model of small group, flexible grouping. So it will be a year-long process. We will seek a tool. We will convene the committee again. And we want to see, is there something there that we could have a word study and a grammar together? Is it something that would be more blended, you know, where something's online, the kids can work at their own pace, and then we get reports, which then would allow teachers to design their station teaching around very specific skills-based groups with an instructional focus. So there's a lot that needs to go into that and thinking, so that's why we want to reserve that as a whole year reflection and research for the following school year. And writing would be coupled with that, because word work, grammar, and writing should really go hand in hand.
That doesn't mean that we're not writing for a full year while we're
No,
researching,
no,
right?
we're still
Just checking,
writing.
just
We're
checking.
still writing.
Just
yes.
trying to make sure
Yes.
everyone understands that doesn't
And we're
mean we're not
writing for multiple purposes, right? So the New York State Standards asks us to think about writing narratives, opinion pieces in the younger grades that move into argumentation and then informational, as well as how we respond to text. And text is used broadly. It could be any medium of a text. It could be a piece of art, like we see when we are studying IB. It could be poetry. It could be a movie. So how we respond to the mediums in which that we're taking in information. So we're writing for all of those purposes every year, starting in kindergarten all the way up to high school.
Thank you very much. I think I've had enough questions now,
Yes.
Madam President. Sorry.
Comments or questions from board members?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Dr. Moriarty. Thank you to the team for your effort, your energy, and your enthusiasm in delving into this work. You know, literacy is really at the heart of everything that we do in school, so this work is very important, and it's very important that we get it right, because the impact can be far-reaching. I had a few questions. I understand, looking at the presentation, that we have identified research-based, evidence-based programs for teaching phonemic awareness and phonics. I'm unclear, and I'm not sure if I'm just not understanding or if we haven't picked a program yet, but what do we mean by small group reading? Is that program aligned, or is that a different skill or strategy? And then if you could just explain what the Keys of Literacy program is for teaching comprehension, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. First, does anybody else want? Okay. All right. Okay, so there is no one program, again, that meets any one of the pillars for literacy. So when we're looking at fluency, the way in which that we would teach fluency would be twofold. One would be through the read-alouds, right? So listening to our prosody, listening to our intonation, listening to how we are reading grade, like we meaning adults, grade level or beyond texts. And that's where kids are working on the edge of their performance zone, and we're kind of pulling them along, so to speak, to grade level, especially if they're not at grade level. So you want them hearing these kinds of rich literature and nonfiction text. When we work in small group reading, then we also want students to have the opportunity to read, and to read widely, and to gain their own prosody, their own fluency, their own intonations. And that is accomplished by having them engage in repeated readings. Now, repeated reading is the actual, and in the small group, that is the actual research base for the work around fluency. So using any text really can be used to gain fluency, both fiction and nonfiction. And then the feedback that the teacher provides the students in real time, as well as any writing that would come from that, and then any reading of their writing that comes from that. So we already had that structure in place here at Rockville Center with the small group reading. Some people might call it guided reading, but it is small group reading. Sometimes it's even one-to-one reading, depending on what's going on for each individual child. And it would be at their level, or it would be above their level. So when we're talking about kindergartners and first graders, we'd be looking more at decodable texts, because they're new to reading. So we want them to engage in their phonics instruction and then in a decodable text right away that relates to the phonics instruction that they just went through. Right, so there's no longer this idea that we're having a phonics instruction and then we're just reading books that have nothing to do with what we just did, right? So that would be the shift that we were looking at in K1. Once students understand how to decode and are moving more into the encoding, then that's when we would be making sure that those small group readings have more of a leveled feel to it. Okay, so now the keys to literacy and the comprehension routine talks about practices for the teacher and talks about practices and routines for the children. So we want to be explicit when and that's the cornerstone too of the science of reading, is that we have explicit instruction around skills. So when we're talking about comprehension specifically, is when we're really looking at the keys to literacy. So comprehension is divided into two parts. It's around building background knowledge so students have a wealth of knowledge to pull from when they're reading difficult and challenging texts to make meaning of their world. And it is the use of metacognitive strategies in order for them to understand how they're reading and how they're comprehending the text. And the most important crucial aspects and skills or standards at that point are details, main idea, text structure, and students generating questions. Not in any order specifically, but those are the 4 skills that are required. So the routines that we're teaching our students that help build that metacognitive map for them to think about how they're reading, to think about how they're thinking and learning, are what we call top-down topic web, which helps us organize and categorize details of anything that is said, read, or done into categories, so it's easy to make meaning of that. And we can see the natural connections. In fact, my notes today are a top-down topic web, and I felt like I presented a little bit better today, I have to say. And then it's having the students maybe take those notes in a top-down topic web and making more extended notes in 2-column notes. So even kindergartners can do this because it can be pictures and labels. It doesn't have to be extended notes that you would see like in IB. They're practices that can extend from K all the way to 12. So think about how deeply we can think critically, which is another one of the instructional practices of the keys to literacy, when we're able to really make sense of what is presented to us. From there, students should be taking either their top-down topic web or their 2-column notes and engaging in summarization and reflection. So it's this constant manipulation of the words and the concepts that helps make that learning durable and strengthens the connections in the neural pathways.
Okay, thanks. My next question, I guess, is kind of related to all the recommendations. How do we know that this is going to work in Rockville Center? Have these interventions improved student outcomes in other districts with similar demographics? I think my concern is just, I think with any program that you adopt, like take Teachers College Readers Writers Workshop, it had a lot of positive hype around it. It came from someone who was a well-renowned professor. School districts bought in, and the results have not been good. But that took time to see that. So I think my concern is that if we're making the investment in time and effort and money into this, how do we know it's going to work?
I just need clarification on to what is this and this program.
But the recommendations that we're making, like obviously we've been using foundations, so that's nothing new to us. Hegarty, we started this year. But like keys to literacy, science of reading. How long has this, again, I'm not a literacy person, so my words might not be right, this framework, this theory. Mm-hmm. Is there evidence that proves that this will bring kids to where we want them to be?
Exactly. It's exactly where we're turning to the science of reading. So the science of reading is a body of research that has existed for over 50 years around these areas of literacy, and they divided it into 5 components and the 5 pillars, right? So there is not one program that meets the needs of all of them, and not one is really actually recognized by the scientists, right, that are studying, the researchers that are studying this. It's really more the practices around it. So that's why, like explicit instruction, deliberate practice, systematic, cumulative instruction around a skill. So that's why when we're looking at comprehension and we're looking at the metacognitive strategies around comprehension, we're turning to not a program like Keys to Literacy is not a program. They are routines. They are routines for the teachers and they are routines for the students. Those routines help build those neural pathways, help with the recall, help with building meaning in order for students to be able to comprehend what they're reading and then to continue reading and to move along their journey. What we're going to do is we're going to continue taking our data. We're going to create, we're going to enhance our data sheet. We're going to have assessments that are aligned with each of our units of study. We're going to collect that information. We're going to sit as grade level teams, as schools, and then as larger district grade level teams. We're going to analyze that data. And it goes back to our MTSS. Are 80% of our students achieving 80% or higher? We know Core 1 is okay, right? It's really good. Then we know that we have to reteach or refocus or do something else for the other 20%. If we do not reach that 80% mark, then we have to look deeply into what our curriculum looks like, what the instruction looks like, and say, hey, where did we miss the mark? What are we going to do about it? It's really more about the practices. That's the short of the long answer that I have. It's really more about the practices that are aligned to the research.
And to interrupt, but I think you've hit on what we're trying to do is embed a process where we're constantly looking. So we know we have data sources every year that we can measure ourselves in terms of a benchmark. We know we get 3-to-8 testing. We know we have NWEA. We know we have Regents exams. We have IB exams. We have all these different measures that we can measure our progress against. That's the first thing. The second thing is that what we're trying to do is continue to make that 5-year review process. So just because we're making recommendations and implementations now does not mean that we're not going to come back and report to the board in year 2, and year 3, and year 4. And I think that's really about trying to make our work transparent. It's really about trying to make our work and the work of our students public to the community. We already know when we started this year to build in those data presentations at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year in the fall, we take all of our elementary principals come back, our middle school principal and our high school administrators come back and talk about how we did last year. And that's part of the open dialogue that we have. So I think all of the structures that the board and we've worked on this year in terms of putting things together in terms of systems are already in place for us to continually evaluate. And I think that's why we decided upon, why is this a 5-year cycle, right? Why are we don't just leave ELA and not look at it for 5 years. We're constantly going through and implementing, reflecting, revising, and continuing to work.
Thank you. I just had 2 more questions. And I appreciate that answer, and I also kind of appreciate the fact that this is like routine driven. So with that, how are we training all of our staff to be 100% capable in delivering this? And is the target really at our K through 5 teachers, or does that extend K through 12?
Okay, so right now, currently, what we've done this year is all of the reading teachers and ENL teachers across the district, as well as some middle school and high school teachers, were invited to and participated in the Keys to Literacy training for the comprehension routine. And they then, through our team teach and co-teach approach in the K-5, have been then teaching organically the kids how to use this material. And now I can walk around to every single classroom, and that was a part of the review, is walking it through and sitting with each classroom, with students in each ELA classroom. And I'm seeing the top-down topic web, and I'm seeing the 2-column notes. I am seeing it in ELA, and I am seeing it in math, seeing it in social studies, right? But I thought it was very interesting that I'm seeing it with polygons, right? So that was me. I took pictures of that. I should actually put it up in one of our presentations. So that's one way that we're organically doing it. That was then coupled with Tracy Broderick running a couple sessions after school for our PM hours, where teachers signed up for learning how to implement the routine for Keys to Literacy. Next year, the plan will be to run sessions for our teachers and to think about how we can integrate maybe some of this training during the school day for them. Our reading teachers also engaged, 5 of our reading teachers also engaged in the Keys to Beginning reading through Keys to Literacy, and they're now trained as facilitators. So what that means is that we have our in-house own trained facilitators on how to teach our other faculty members around the why and the how and the what of beginning reading, which is aligned to the 5 pillars of literacy. So the thinking around that would be that our teachers will have the opportunity to take an asynchronous online course that's facilitated then also by our teachers here in our district, and they'll be supported along the way. The idea would be for us to experiment and to continue working with these strategies. As people continue to see success, we're going to continue to see more of it in our classes.
Great. And then just the last question I had, maybe more of a comment to start. I really appreciate the focus on the horizontal and vertical alignment across the ELA at the elementary level and then the English courses at the middle and high school. My wonder is about how does this then integrate into science and social studies at the middle level and high school, where you don't have that, like, in elementary school, it's much easier to kind of combine or use interdisciplinary work. So how are we going to help teachers in social studies and science, and really even in math, kind of learn that common language so that we see transfer across the content areas, and that, more importantly, that we're training teachers how to work on that disciplinary literacy? To really improve and embed skills in the content areas. I mean, just being a social studies teacher, in my own context, like, I see a disconnect between what goes on in an English classroom and what goes on in my classroom. Even though I'm a social studies teacher, I'm a literacy teacher, but I don't always get that training, and I think that's a big miss. So that's just really my question, is how are we ensuring that they're being trained as well?
Right, so that's the second part of your question that preceded this question that I did not answer, so I'll answer that now, is that while this year we started to train some of our middle school and high school teachers on the Keys to Literacy routine, next year and the subsequent years will be how do we really look at these teachers, get them together and get them trained on these literacy techniques so that we are all really embodying that aspect of the state's lifelong practices of reading and writing, that we're all teachers of literacy, right? Everything that we do, anything that's said, read, and done, we can pull main idea, we can pull details from. So you're absolutely right, and that's going to be part of our next step. Anything that we're talking about here tonight is going to include training, modeling, and continuous coaching and opportunities for reflection. As far as helping teachers see the connections between and among their content areas and concepts, that's what the MYP and the IB will allow us to be able to do with their units of study.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I had so many questions. Excellent answers. Thank you again to the committee.
If I could just also add, Mr. Murphy kindly left off how many years I've been in the district, but it's been 28, and much of my time spent at the middle school, I can attest to some of the work that was done there, in which teachers were trained extensively that we're all readers, teachers of reading and writing, and that was a big push infused in, and then following the heels with the MYP, really looking at things conceptually, planning interdisciplinary, so a lot of those cornerstone values that we talk about that you're mentioning are already embedded in some of the work that's been done. Is there more? Yes. But one of the things that our committee learned is when we started to look at other people's curriculums and hear what was happening, why it was happening, the decisions that were being made, immediately people started reflecting on how they could bring those pieces into their curriculums, into their day-to-day. So there's also that alliance of colleagues who have been trained for years and years, who pass on, right? You share with your colleagues, there's common planning time built in, and that's the beauty of what we do. We share best practices. So although, yes, there can be better and more intentional alignment horizontally and vertically, the 5th grade, you asked the question earlier, I think, Mr. Gavin, about why 5th grade. One of the good things that came out of COVID was we decided as an elementary team we were going to work with teachers by grade level across the district. And that is where A Long Walk to Water was born from originally. And so then the teachers decided to get together and create these shared experiences because that was such a positive way to make sure all the kids were going into the middle school with a similar experience. So a lot of the things that have existed for years what I think we try to do inherently is keep the good and then build with the new, the better, the research-based practices.
And
So-
I think, to play off that, one of the things that we did with the climate survey is we talked about, and this is one of the findings, that we wanted greater alignment between our elementary campuses. So we wanted to make sure that this was very intentional, which is why we have a wide district-wide committee structure, so that as you talked about, Trustee Messier, not only do we have the vertical alignment, but we also have the horizontal alignment as well. So I appreciate all of those answers, and we have time for more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if this is on. Is it on? Can you hear me? Watching this process over the past year and seeing the tremendous amount of work that's gone into it, all the collaboration and all the wonderful minds we have, that when you put something together, this process has come out of it is amazing. I think I'm looking at it more from, I'm glad Mr. Gavin mentioned grammar and a possible grammar program. I was an English major, and I'm not an educator, so most of the things you people have discussed are way above my pay grade. But I do know as a parent, there is a bit of a disconnect with the grammar, where even high school-aged kids sometimes, when you're looking over their work, don't have a subject that matches their verb, and diagramming a sentence, and back to the basics. So I'm glad that you're mentioning that, because I think it's something that maybe we do need a little bit of work on. And then from a granular level as a parent, I think this idea of how we're going to teach and how we're going to make our children better learners and how they're going to connect to real world, which is something the survey brought out. Well, how does this affect me in my life? And connecting the different subjects is all really amazing stuff. But I think parents want to know, almost like a syllabus in some ways, what are we teaching? When are we teaching it? I know everyone's going to be on their own level, but I think as a parent, especially parents and friends of mine that have children that need extra help, they'd like to know, where is my child going to be, so I can align my tutor, I can help with my child's curriculum. What is the actual curriculum? At what grade level? What are we reading? What are we studying? What are the levels of study, no matter where your child is, so people have an idea of what we're doing. Will that be made available to parents at any point?
So, do you want to take it?
No, you got it, yep.
Oh, okay. So the slide that showed the fifth grade work, we can refer to that maybe as like a one-pager or a two-pager, and that can be an interface that lives between my office, the school district, and the community, what's going on actually in fifth grade. We are planning on putting together a timeline. We have about 5 units of study per grade level, which would be about, 40 instructional days or so for each, including assessments and interesting projects and activities, right? So we'll be able to put all of that, and you'll also see that our standards are there as well. So right now, for the sake of this presentation, it was only our ELA reading and writing, but we also have the speaking standards, and we have the social studies and science standards as well. So everybody will be able to see clearly where we are, what we're doing, and what we're working on.
I think it's our intention to put up an overview page of what the units are, and then be able to click to each of the units and say, what are we doing in the unit?
That would be invaluable for
And then
parents.
provide like a one-page, it's like a one-page summary of it. So
Yep.
it wouldn't be like the test, obviously, or any of that kind of stuff, but it would be, what is the essential question, what are the materials we're talking about, and then this way there's transparency, in terms of what parents want to look and see what the curriculum is, they can look and see what the curriculum is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to that last point, I know our teachers have really shared a lot of that kind of information at back-to-school nights, so I know attending those nights is really helpful, and then maybe if we just have it available to people, it's kind of already given, and it's just a place for them to point back as the year goes on. So I love a good committee. I've been saying this all year, and this one is fantastic as well. So thank you to all the people. It's a huge effort. What I love even more about a good committee is good crossover committees. So I was really excited about the MTSS conversation. Whether it's ELA or it's math next year, or it's science, or whatever we start to go through in terms of cycle, that kind of tie to MTSS exists in every subject matter, and I really hope we continue that crossover as we go forward. I'm assuming we're going to venture into math soon, because we're talking about foundational skills here, so ELA being the basis of everything. I hope you keep this committee intact. I hope you continue to work together, and I hope that whatever is the next cycle of curriculum that we review, that you cross over to that next subject matter, because you have to look at your committee as like the base committee now of everything else. And that work that you've done, I hope, to Mr. Gavin's point, we're going to report back year 2, 3, and 4 before we come to year 5, but that in all those kind of middle years that you have a purpose in every other subject matter, because I just think it's really important. So that was my comment. My one question is, and I saw a slide that talked about technology integration, which really made me happy. My question is, for those of you that sat on the committee, I could imagine that technology could take up half of the time that you're together, because when it comes to reading and writing, the impact of technology and the change in technology has really changed the way students learn. As adults, we learn differently. Some of us prefer Kindles to hardcover books, and I'm thrilled to see kids still coming home with books. I really am. But so much of what they're learning and writing and reading is on our devices. So I'm interested in the conversation in the committee about technology and its impact on ELA, and how we're going to continue to take a look at those impacts and how we can assess how our kids are actually doing in their learning, taking technology into consideration, because it is a concern of mine.
I think you saw in there were 4 different softwares that
Yep.
were part of that technology integration. 2 of them were really content.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 2 opportunities for us to use different types of content that would, provide additional resources for students to read from. But we also had, assessment systems built in there too. So some of them are assessment tools where we can try to align and make sure that our students are growing as well as use the content. We love hard, and softcover books. We want to make sure that our students get an opportunity to read from a multitude of mediums, because we know that screen time is something that is very serious out there. We're trying to make sure that our students can see good old-fashioned paper and have the opportunity to write on good old-fashioned paper, but also have the ability to say, I know where I can access information or find a piece of content that is interesting to me via one of these systems.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that kind of ability to be able to find text and write, whether you're using a keyboard or a pen, matters. And I think that we're expecting a lot of students these days to kind of access that in so many different ways. So the technology piece for me, when it comes to ELA, I think, like I said, you could probably spend more than half of your time just talking about that. But if we can keep that into consideration as we move forward. Students are taking their assessments in various ways as well, so we just want to make sure that they are comfortable in all of those different ways. So I hope that you, like I said, I hope that you'll come back and kind of keep reporting back on ELA and keep your committee together. And I thank you for the work that you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that having this system is going to be, as Tara mentioned, so helpful as we look into other subject areas. This subject area is particularly close to my heart as a college English teacher. You may be surprised to hear that some students aren't excited about taking English class in college. And so what can we do to sort of build, I love that slide where you mentioned building this wonderment and awe, right? How do we make it a relevant subject? And how did your committee discuss that sort of, maybe it's student voice and choice in making students understand that this is a place of wonderment and not, oh, I have to go to English class in college? How do we build that earlier so that we're not undoing it later?
It's through that choice, exactly what you're talking about, making sure that we're embedding our book clubs that are aligned with our themes, and that our themes are conceptual understandings that ask the kids to really question and think about enduring concepts that kind of have racked human existence since the beginning of time. So, what does it really mean in this unit for 5th grade? To what extent does where we live affect how we live? Bringing it back to the learner, connecting all of these content and subject areas back to the learner through that simple question, and then allowing them to explore that through the different mediums, and one of them being the book club medium. Another thing we want to think about too is that on this particular slide in creating assessments, we want an assessment not just, how do you ascertain main idea and what are the key details. We want assessments that are performance-based as well, that allow the students to grapple with that question or the concept of individual and group development and the connection between people and their environment, and build that over the course of the year. So then when students are in a station, that could be one of their stations around creating things that answer this question or answer a problem or asks them to engage in civic readiness. So it's not one thing over another thing. It's how do we meld these things together so that it makes sense, that it's relevant to their lives, and they need to draw upon all of these different genres, all of these different subject matter in order to be able to make sense of their world. Ultimately, what this will do, it allows for transfer, and when we transfer our understanding, that's what makes learning sticky and makes it durable. And that's the science behind the thematic units with the essential question and making it relevant to their lives.
That's helpful, thank you. Especially in not just sort of the forcing them to read, but also in the discussion afterwards, right? And asking these questions about how can what I read be sort of, something that I can reflect on in my own life. Mm-hmm. And I like that part about maybe it was the keys to literacy slide, or where you were talking about in terms of the top-down topic web, sort of reinforcing that reflective piece, right? That I'm thinking about what I read and what we discussed, and I'm putting all of these notes together.
Yes.
Would you say that sort of skill building sort of veers into maybe executive functioning
Absolutely.
And organization that transfers to other areas as well?
Right. Absolutely, 100%. And then let's also honor the question generation that we want kids to engage in. So now we're asking them to, as they're reading, ask as many questions as you possibly can. Now let's find the answers to them. Let's uncover what we're learning instead of cover what we're learning.
Right, and which comes through discussion, right?
Absolutely.
And listening to your peers as well as your teacher.
Yes.
Right, because they have a lot to say, I'm sure, at every grade.
One of my favorite quotes ever is that reading and writing floats on a sea of talk. So without that discussion, without that critical thinking, without the asking of the questions, it's very hard for us to engage in reading and writing as effectively as we want.
Right, because good writing is clear thinking.
That's
right. So you have to do that piece first. And my other question was, I think someone mentioned early on that special ed teachers were involved from the get-go, so that important perspective is embedded from the very beginning stages.
One of our favorite units to analyze was a unit from Pathways, and what we learned from that unit and learned from working with Jess Goro was immeasurable, and it's something that we're going to take with us as we continue to think about our lesson sequences when we're talking about the backwards design model.
Thank you.
Okay, it's certainly some team you've assembled here, so thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for your work this year. I'm excited to see how implementation continues next year and for you to report back to us, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, turning to policies, we have policy 6150 currently at stage 2. Alcohol, drugs, and other substances. Any comments or questions? Can we move this to stage 3?
Yes.
6151 drug-free workplace. Okay to move this as well?
Yes.
Okay, currently at stage 3, we have 3210 visitors to the school. Okay to move this for approval?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity for superintendent, Mr. Gavin.
Madam President, I utilized my opportunity for superintendent already. I am not going to hold up any more. I had originally planned on recommending both Dr. Dias and Mr. Zappia, but we moved that up to make sure that we got that done right away, so I'm yielding the floor
Yes.
for opportunity for superintendent.
Thank you. Opportunity for board members, Mrs. Messier.
I'd like to extend my warmest congratulations to all of our retirees. Thank you for your service, your guidance, and the profound impact you have had on generations of students. May your next chapter be filled with joy, fulfillment, and endless possibilities. Congratulations to all of our staff who earned tenure. Your dedication, hard work, and unwavering commitment to our students have earned you this well-deserved recognition. Your passion for teaching and your ongoing pursuit of knowledge inspire us all. Congratulations on achieving tenure, and we eagerly anticipate the bright future you will help shape for our students. To all of our upcoming graduates, I know it's still May, but I don't think I have an opportunity before graduation. Congratulations. As you embark on the next chapter of your educational journey, remember that the knowledge and skills you've acquired here in the Rockville Center Schools will serve as the foundation for your future endeavors. Embrace the opportunities that lie ahead, continue to pursue excellence, and never stop learning. Congratulations again. I'd like to congratulate all of our spring student athletes on successful seasons. For those who are still competing, I wish you the best of luck. Good luck to our center stage cast and crew during the upcoming production of The Wizard of Oz. My son attended today's dress rehearsal and was extremely impressed. I heard quite a bit about it after school today. I'd also like to congratulate Mrs. Dias and Mr. Zappia on their administrative appointments. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the amazing that you will both undoubtedly bring to the Rockville Center School District. And finally, I'd like to thank Trustee Christine Farazani for 3 years of outstanding service to the Rockville Center School District. I first met Christine in PTA. She was PTA Council President, and I was just a delegate to Council for Covert. I remember the first meeting, I was so scared of you. You were like so intimidating, knowing everything about PTA and everything about the district. But at the same time, you were so encouraging and helpful. I remember I was kind of tasked that night to go find out about the Covert gym floor because we were having an issue with the gym floor. But the board meeting was just a work session across the street in like that little room. And you're like, no, we're going to walk right over there. And you walked me over and we sat in the chair like super awkwardly. I asked my question, got whatever I was supposed to do. But I mean, from the beginning, you've really been amazing to me. I feel like you've definitely shaped me in so many different ways. I appreciate all that you do, all that you bring, the questions you have, the perspective, so many things I would never think about. Just your commitment to this school district, to kids, and to the community. And I'm really going to miss you. But congratulations on your retirement. Enjoy the next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Farazani?
Well, now I have to talk after that, and she made me choked up, but thank you.
Sorry.
I appreciate it, and I've enjoyed my time on the board. I didn't seek re-election because I'm moving on at a new stage of my life now that I have 2 children in college that I have to pay for and one on the way to that level. I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone who received tenure this evening and all of our retirees. It was wonderful to see a room packed with people, colleagues, family, friends, supporting and congratulating everyone. So that was nice to see. Congratulations to Dr. Diaz and Mr. Zappia. Welcome aboard. You're great additions, and I look forward to working with you as a parent. Congratulations to the class of 2023, and good luck on exams and finals and all the fun things that the end of the year has to offer for all of our students. Good luck to Center Stage Thursday and Friday. I want to thank Ms. Love and the entire Mental Health Committee for their work on the Wellness Walk. It was a really great success. We had a lot of fun. We did a color run. My, I don't even know what you would call it, baton did not go off and the colors didn't come out, and Mr. Raymar found that pretty funny, so that was exciting. I would like to thank the Darcy family, the Harris family, the Ryan Patrick O'Shea Foundation, and the PTAs for their donations to the school district. That's really great. And that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Hackett?
Congratulations to all of our administrators and our teachers receiving tenure. It's been fun watching so many of you grow over the time I've been on the board. We're so grateful to be the lucky people who get to have your commitment to the district and ours in return, so congratulations. After the retirees, I was worried we had nobody left. It felt like a lot of people are leaving here, and so many special people, and I know that they've touched the lives of so many children of the community, so we do thank them for their years of service and wish them the best in their well-deserved retirement. Somebody was commenting about one of the nurses retiring now. You have to really be grateful to the retirees for sticking it out with us during COVID and waiting to get us back off and running and retiring now. I mean, I don't know if people understand what it's taken from people these last few years. So I really appreciate them staying with us getting us through that period of time, and really do wish them well. It was an all-star list of retirees, and it's hard to not single out anybody. There's so many different special people and everything they've contributed. But because I've been on this board, and I have to thank Mr. Barb Krager, and I know he did get a standing ovation, very well deserved, but he brought this board to life, brought us out in people's homes at a time where we were cut off, and has just been so dedicated to this community and to this district for just my entire lifetime, literally. It's an amazing thing, so I just really wanted to give a special thank you to Bob. I'm really also very excited about our principal, Mr. Zappia. You are just a lovely, wonderful person to work with in the district. The kids are just so lucky to have had you as a teacher all these years. You've also really given of yourself to this district, and we appreciate that. So I'm so excited for you in your next chapter. The children of Riverside are in for a treat. I'm very happy for them. This was my first time meeting Dr. Diaz, but I have to tell you a quick story. I work down the block from her school. I didn't realize that this was the school she worked in. And maybe 6 months ago, I wrote a letter to the principal just commenting on how the children of California Avenue School are the happiest children on the earth. I pass it every day. I get stopped at the bus every day. Every kid gets off the bus and high-fives their matron and walks into that school like it is just the best thing coming. So if she has had anything to do with that, we are definitely in for a treat in this district, and I'm so thrilled to have her and make the connection to what she's been doing outside of Rockville Center to bring here. So congratulations to Dr. Diaz as well. Thank you also to all of the generous gifts for the evening, and to Dr. Moriarty and her beautiful and amazing committee for all the work they've done on the ELA curriculum is very much appreciated. I look forward to our next subject. This morning, Dr. Downing and I also had the pleasure of attending the center stage dress rehearsal along with the children of some of the different schools here. And they were enjoying it and loving every moment of it, just like we were. We were clapping, we were just cheering them on. The kids are amazing, and it's just a beautiful culmination of what it is that we do in this district. So a thank you to Ellen White for continuing this lovely tradition and just having our children get to be stars for a few days. Mr. Gavin does make a cameo, so if anybody's going to see, you will get to see what I'm talking about. So yes, TED Talks and concerts and sporting events, it's definitely been a very busy season. We have much more to go, more sports, varsity Eston are coming up, graduations. So congratulations to the class of 2023, our 5th grade, 8th grade, especially our seniors. Looking forward to graduation. I'd also like to thank Trustee Christine Farazani for her 3 years of service, and I wish her well in her board retirement. I'd like to thank all of the candidates for the Board of Education election this year. I know it's not an easy thing to do. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Janet Gruner on her outstanding victory. I'm really looking forward to working with you. I know you to be a very intelligent and fair and strong leader, so I'm looking forward to having you join the board. The budget vote and election is no small feat, so I would like to just publicly thank Mrs. Celeberti and her team for running that as effortlessly as she does. She just runs it really meticulously, and I know that it's not effortless, but you make it look that way, so thank you very much. Since it is our last opportunity for board opportunity to speak this year, I would like to also really thank publicly our unsung hero, and that's Kelly Barry. Being board president is not an easy job, especially working full-time and representing not only the 5 of us, but ensuring that every one of your voices is represented. And she has done a really great job this year, and I thank her for outstanding work. I'm very grateful for her leadership and her steady hand, and we have really had a fantastic year, so thank you very much. Mr. Matt Gavin and his cabinet promised our children a year of normalcy, full of possibilities and opportunities, and they have over-delivered. We have very lucky children here. They've had an amazing year. We're extremely thankful for your leadership and the dedication of your great team. I'd like to just take a personal thank you to the community for their overwhelming support of our budget. We worked very hard to devise a budget that would really give a lot of enhancements and additions to the students of this town. So thank you very, very much for your support of the budget. Lastly, this was my 3rd contested election, and I still learned a lot about myself and about the community in the process. I trust in the process, and it's just a really hard thing to have to do. I'm a private person, so putting yourself out there does not come easily. So going through it, you have to know how much you actually want the job to put yourself out there, and I really am happy to be able to continue. So I really sincerely thank every person that supported me over the last 6 years and supported me in this election. I'm very excited for years 7 through 9. And I never thought I would see the day that I would be a tracksuit mom and a Spice Girl. So it was an exciting time for me. Thank you for bringing some laughter to a very stressful time. But I do thank the community very much. And I am very grateful to be part of this wonderful board and this wonderful community. So happy summer to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Downing?
Sure. Thank you to Dr. Moriarty and her curriculum committee for that presentation on the ELA curriculum. It really is the building block of all learning. The ability to get information from a text is the most important thing we can learn. And we can learn chemistry and physics and history, but if we're struggling to read, we're going to feel those effects in other areas. So it's really important, as we've said, to get that right. Congratulations to everyone we celebrated tonight with both tenure and retirement. Whether you're at an early stage in your career or you're moving on to the next phase, we really, truly appreciate your hard work and service to this district. And some of us were talking at the break that it's really important to commemorate these big milestones, because so much of what you do is made up of small moments, really personal one-on-one interactions with students when they get that aha moment, or you've seen them struggle and get to the other side. So it's important to take a moment, enjoy this milestone, and know that you truly have made a difference. Thank you. I'm going to echo a lot of what you've already heard to our community for supporting the proposed school budget. It's going to continue to support our strong schools and to drive student achievement. Congratulations to Tara Hackett. I've learned so much from you during my first year on this board, and I'm very grateful that you'll continue to share your knowledge and experience for another term. Congratulations to Janet Gruner, who will be an excellent addition to this board, and I'm looking forward to working with you. Thank you to Christine Farazani for her service to this Board of Education, and I wish you well on the next chapter for you as well. Congrats to all of our students on a successful year. Thank you to Mr. Gavin and Mrs. Barry and all of our administrators for a positive year focused on teaching and learning. We've seen a lot of change in the past years, but one thing that never changes is our commitment to our students and to making decisions centered on supporting their learning. And as we sprint across the finish line between now and the end of the academic year, a special congratulations to all of the students moving up from 5th grade in the elementaries to the middle school, moving from the middle school to the high school, and a special congratulations to the Southside class of 23. I hope you make the most of your year-end celebrations and know that we're so proud of you. I was able to attend some of the TED Ed talks these past 2 weeks, and I was so impressed. I want to thank all the club advisors who worked with these students, to the students who gave incredibly passionate and emotional talks. Congratulations on a job well done. As I mentioned earlier, at the college level, we struggle to teach students these skills of argumentation and persuasive speech, and our students have a huge head start. Thanks to this club. So thank you for all of those involved in that effort. Another plug for the Wizard of Southside, the center stage performance. Huge thanks to the Backyard Players, headed up by Ellen White. It's so fun. It's such a fun performance. And I couldn't help but notice that all the volunteers behind the scenes, they're such a great reminder that we all have a role to play in making our community better. One day at a time, one act at a time. That's how we build upon our success, and we make even more opportunities for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. It's hard to believe we're at our last public meeting of the school year. So once again, I would like to thank the community for supporting the budget. I congratulate Mrs. Gruner for joining us on the board, and Mrs. Hackett, I look forward to continued work with you as well. Mrs. Farazani, thank you for your 3 years of service on the board and for the many years that we've worked together prior to that. And I wish you all the best as you move on from your board retirement into your next phase. So good luck. Thank you. Mr. Krager, I also would like to take a moment to thank you. You have been working tremendously hard behind the scenes, and we wouldn't have board meetings the same way without you. We will miss you, and we thank you for all of your many years of service. Once again, congratulations to Mr. Zappia and Dr. Diaz. I look forward to working with both of you, and I wish everyone a happy and healthy summer. Okay, opportunity for visitors. The public in its comments is requested to refrain from making any direct references to students or staff members that could be considered critical of their performance or their character. Such references to individual students or staff members are inappropriate in a public forum and should instead be conducted in private conversation with appropriate members of the staff. When you come to the mic, please state your name and address. Remember to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and you are not directing your comments to any individual board member, but the board as a whole. Sorry about that.
Good evening. My name is Nicole DiCarlo. I'm a current Riverside parent of a second grader and a kindergartner. I also have a child entering pre-K. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the families that are part of the Riverside Elementary School community. I want to first say thank you to Mr. Murphy and Dr. Godone for listening so kindly and patiently when I spoke at our PTA meeting last week, and also to Mr. Gavin for our conversation at Riverside Dismissal a few weeks ago. I really do truly feel that you have the best intentions for this district, and I'm hopeful that the changes you will make will be wonderful for all of the children in Rockville Center. My husband and I moved to this town 7 years ago because of the wonderful reputation of this school district. I'm a teacher in a neighboring district, and we were so excited to raise our family in a place we had heard so many wonderful things about. Our daughter entered Riverside as a kindergartner in 2020 during the height of COVID. Despite the year being marked by the fear of the pandemic and being mostly separated from her peers, she flourished and had a wonderful school year. We cannot say enough amazing things about her teacher, Mrs. Feldkamp, who our son now currently has. She has been a bright spot in what has otherwise turned into an extremely frustrating and disappointing experience for our family. We began to have concerns for our daughter when she began first grade last year, for a number of reasons.
I'm sorry, do you want me to stop the streaming since you're talking about your daughter individually? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, thank you. The educational experience she was receiving was not what we were hoping for, and there were a number of very worrying behavior issues in her class that were not being addressed adequately. We reached out to the building principal several times throughout the school year and were assured that all was being handled and then the plan was in place. Unfortunately, this was not the case, and our daughter began to exhibit behaviors that were very uncharacteristic for her, including severe anxiety about attending school. We were hopeful that the situation would improve this school year, but the complete opposite, unfortunately, has happened. Our happy, smart, enthusiastic daughter changed into a very anxious, unmotivated child. She would cry every night and each morning about going to school, and developed debilitating headaches that would make her physically ill. As you can imagine, we were incredibly concerned as her parents and were very anxious ourselves to quickly remedy the situation. Much of this was stemming from some behavior issues that had occurred the year before that had escalated to an incredibly concerning level. Students in her class and the other class were being physically attacked or threatened on an almost daily basis. Children in my daughter's class, and even the other class when they played at recess, were tackled, stabbed with objects, and even strangled. Girls were being touched inappropriately.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon. You have 30 seconds.
My daughter's classes had to be removed from their classroom to ensure their safety, and multiple support calls a day were made to her classroom. As you can imagine, this is a very unsettling way for 7- and 8-year-olds to learn. We reached our breaking point when our daughter was physically harmed by a child in her class, and we requested a meeting with the building principal. Once again, we were told that our concerns were valid and that it was being handled and that a plan was in place, but unfortunately, things have only gotten worse. I can go on about many other concerning issues that the Riverside community has faced at dismissal in recent weeks, or the fact that we have not had a building principal familiar with any of these situations since the beginning of May. The reason I am really here is to implore you to see how the school administration and the district is failing these children. After I and many other parents spoke out at last week's PTA meeting, several actions have been taken, and we do greatly appreciate that. But we are all wondering why it took till almost June and a year and a half of parents reaching out to get anything done. The mental, physical, and emotional well-being of every child in that class has suffered because of the inaction. The child who is struggling with these behavior issues is suffering because their needs are not being met either. The lack of communication or attention to this and many other pressing issues are simply unacceptable in a town where the residents pay so much to send their children to school.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm almost finished. Riverside deserves the attention of the board and central administration. Families are very worried, and families are making the difficult decision to transfer their children to other schools. Please make this school the priority it deserves to be.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming and addressing the board. I know it's not easy, and Mr. Gavin, do you want to?
You know, after the PTA meeting, I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Murphy. I know I spoke with many of the parents that are seated here tonight about individual concerns, and we continue to take those concerns seriously, and when they were brought to our attention at central office, we've acted on them, whether it was an issue in the playground or any of the dismissal issues, so on and so forth. So when they were brought to our attention, I've definitely spoken to parents about how we've been trying to address them. And please know that while we're respecting the confidentiality of all the people involved, we're in action on all of the things that you've mentioned.
Thank you.
Christina Harmon. I live at 32 Riverside Drive. Good evening. I am here along with many other parents from Riverside School tonight. Many of the parents will be speaking about a behavior issue that has affected our children. I am here in
I'm sorry, I just have to be clear that we can't talk about individual students.
I'm not talking about an individual student.
Okay.
I am here in full support of that issue along with another topic that I am fully invested in as well.
Okay.
One of the major issues and the main reason I am here is the size of Riverside as a whole and how that directly impacts the social and emotional well-being of our children, especially my own. My son is in 5th grade and my daughter is in 2nd grade, both at Riverside. My youngest daughter is entering kindergarten in Riverside in September. When I speak to other parents from the other elementary schools, they tell us how lucky we are, and I get that. Academically for them, packed classes at those schools is a nightmare, and academically for the children at Riverside, some would say it was a dream. I don't deny that, but that's not why I'm here. The truth is, it is not healthy or advantageous to be with the same few children for all 6 years of your elementary experience. My youngest daughter has a current projected total grade of about 15 students for the incoming kindergarten class. Within this grade currently, there are 5 or less males registered. If I had to compare, Hewitt has a projected kindergarten class of about 90 children. When I say those numbers out loud, it makes absolutely no sense to me, and I can't think of one explanation for the inequality. For the next 6 years, my youngest daughter will be with an extremely small group of other students all day long. She will never meet new friends from year to year when she advances to the next grade, as all the other children in the other schools will experience. She won't learn how to react to different types of behaviors from a variety of children because there isn't a variety of children. She will never be immersed in diversity from year to year, being surrounded with the same 15 children. If there should be a behavior conflict, as mentioned, there is no outlet for the children with a grade size that small. How can a school rearrange children and meet them according to their social and emotional needs if there's nowhere to go? This is especially important in the post-COVID world in which we live. With the current leadership issues at Riverside, this is causing a domino effect in many other areas. Riverside is not the building it used to be when my son entered through his kindergarten doors 6 years ago. I'm disappointed and distraught to witness the struggles that the building currently faces on a daily basis. The social and emotional struggles added with the current issues at the leadership level make me disheartened and disappointed, to say the least. I never used to feel this way. In speaking to many Riverside parents about this important issue, I've realized that an extremely small school with poor leadership has ramifications that are present even after graduation. There are parents from Riverside that have enrolled their children in private school in the future, myself included. As our Board of Education, you should be asking yourself why. This should be something that worries you. I really do think that the small grade sizes directly impact the social and emotional well-being of the children, and this, along with the other things that I've mentioned, are the reasons people may be leaving. I can tell you that when my husband and I moved into this town in 2010, we did not give private school a thought, even though my husband went to Catholic school his entire life. Fast forward 6 years, and now we have decided to send my son to private school next year. Like mentioned before, we are not the only family from his grade. There's actually 4 total out of 28 children, and the rest of the school that has made the same decision next year as well. This should be a huge red flag. Most of the other elementary schools in this town are bursting at the seams, with children even renting additional space to accommodate the population, and at Riverside, we can't fill one single kindergarten classroom. I'm worried for my daughter who is entering
Just
kindergarten.
wrap up your comments, please, soon. Thanks.
I have one more paragraph. I am worried for my daughter who is entering kindergarten at Riverside in the fall. The uneven distribution of children needs a solution, and I'm asking that you are the individuals to help with this problem and the others as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Doc. Sorry.
Sorry about
I'm a
that.
little taller than everyone else. Joe Palmieri, 108 Riverside Drive. My child also goes to Riverside Elementary. Everyone there is here for the same reason. We're having major issues. We've spoken to people at the PTA, and I think you're all aware. You guys know what's going on at Riverside? You all aware?
It's not a back and forth, but you can make a comment and we can listen.
Well, I didn't know that. All right. My first time.
That's okay.
So we're having a problem with behavior, and there's, I know I'm not allowed to say and point out, but there's one egg ruining the bunch, and it needs to be addressed. And everybody is basically been suffering for the last 3 years from this one egg. And we really need it taken care of. This person's in crisis. And I just watched...
We can't refer to individuals. So
Well, I just watched a beautiful presentation, how
Yes.
you want to forward and help our children a lot, and you're in the, you're in the business of taking care of children and helping children, and I think that you need to be this child's champion and help. And
Thank you.
put that person where they need to go. We've suffered enough, and
Thank you
there's
for your
not
comments.
a happy person
Thank
there.
you for your comments.
There's not a happy person there, and Mr. Zappia, welcome, sorry, and good luck.
Okay. All right. At this point, the board has heard on this particular item. I can't allow any comments about individual students to continue.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jonathan Villeman. I moved to Rockville Center last year from Brooklyn. And I'm reading this letter on behalf of my wife. She had to go because she had to go to work. So she writes, my name is Samantha Villeman, and my son attends Riverside in the 2nd grade. We moved to RVC early last year from a blue ribbon school in Brooklyn, and I admittedly had some concerns about leaving the very vigorous academic environment at my son's last school. But we were encouraged by the reputation of the RVC schools, which are known to be among the best on the South Shore. We had reasonable expectations about what my son's experience would be like, but unfortunately found ourselves disappointed almost from the beginning. As a small school, we had expected a degree of transparency at Riverside, but have often felt left out of the curriculum, getting only rare glimpse into what is being studied in the classroom, with no advance notice of topics being covered. What we have seen has been sorely disappointing, particularly in terms of volume, complexity, and frequency of the homework. Rather focusing on developing good study habits and challenging my son with vigorous and well-rounded curriculum, my son receives homework below his grade level, resulting in lack of interest and motivation to learn. When my husband and I expressed concerns to the teacher and principal early in the school year, we were assured that my son was excelling and would be giving work that was challenging, would be challenging. However, as the year went on, my son came home with less and less homework and reported that homework he does get is not regularly checked. We have also noted that tests are not regularly administered at Riverside, nor are they administered when scheduled, which apparently impacts the volume homework my son receives. For example, when my husband reached out to ask why my son's weekly spelling words were not backpacked, we were told, sorry, I'm not testing spelling this week. However, even when spelling words were given, tests were often skipped, implying that studying and tests are just not important. And unfortunately, while these issues could be resolved using standard technologies used by most schools in this state, like Google Classroom and Class Dojo, Riverside has no technology in place to ensure that parents receive regular insight into the learning environment. Instead, teachers make ad hoc, sporadic, and on-the-fly decisions not to administer tests or give out homework. And as a parent, we are the last to know. I'm speaking to the administration today to stress that outside of this community, there are kids who are getting a stellar education, and that people of this community work hard to ensure that their kids get the same opportunity. What I've seen here is a lack of diligence and failure to prepare our children to meet the challenges of the next grade level.
Thank you.
Roxy and Rizzi, for those of you who were not at the forum, I was a candidate running for the board, for a board seat. The first question asked was, how would you work to address the epidemic of bullying in our schools? A board member answered verbatim, this is a topic that is real and it's a problem. First by adults, especially board members, we need to model good behavior. If we don't do that and have our children watching us, then we are really falling short. We put so much onus on mental health in this district, but we have to talk the talk and walk the walk. So we can't say that we are for mental health and then contribute to the behaviors that hurt others. Bullying is a real issue, and social media has become out of control in some places. I couldn't agree more with your words.
You're not going to address any individual board member? Okay.
I didn't. I
Okay,
just
making
said
sure.
with your words.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So with that in mind, I thought you'd be interested to see what some of your school board members, spouses, sister-in-laws, some PTA presidents, past presidents, PTA officers, and members chose to be an active participant on an Instagram page that was weaponized against me to malign my character. I was never approached or debated, but this is what was put up on Instagram, okay? All these are all separate pages. I made it in a poster so everyone could see it. This has nothing to do with loss. This has to do with bullying, okay? That's just one of the pages. Now, you might wonder how I found out about this. My 14-year-old called me from the school bus. Mom, do you know there's a hate page about you? Isn't that nice? Walking the walk and talking the talk. Another page. Last year, in the interest of transparency, I put out a letter that was sent to the acting superintendent. 30 people signed this letter asking for BIPOC hires. Not the best people for the jobs, but BIPOC hires. I thought the community had a right to know about that since they said they were representing the community. One person that signed that letter became unhinged, and I had to get a police report because that person made threats, okay? So they used my responses to that person, like go stick your head in a book, that's bullying.
Your time's almost up.
Okay, and made me a bully, okay? And there's another beautiful one, okay?
No, we're not going to do that. Thanks.
Just so you know,
Time's up, Mrs. Rizzi.
that's fine, but these are your people that you have representing
Thank you.
board members.
Thank you.
More is caught than taught.
Would anyone else like to come up and address the board? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to approve the financial reports as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to approve receipt of financial reports as listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to approve items for action 1 through 13?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to return to executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. June 14th is our next meeting, and that will be a Public Works. Have a good evening.